Welcome to Wine with Dylan
and Mark.
We lead Mason Taylor Associates based in Newport Beach. This podcast is a behind-the-scenes look at all things residential real estate through interviews with industry leaders in finance, market trends, and investment to the best resources in home construction, design, and maintenance. We'll even mix in a few past and present clients. We aim to arm you with the right knowledge to make the best decision regarding your home. We'll be doing this all while sipping on a glass or two of the finest fermented grape juice. Our guest today was born and raised in Orange County, currently resides in Corona del Mar. He is the president and owner of the Stonehill Company, specializing in high-end remodeling of residential real estate. He is Josh Zeyak. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a great podcast for you guys, and I'm happy to join anytime you guys need a construction entrepreneur to enlighten you. There we go.
There we go.
So
what are we talking about here?
We know each other pretty well. We've been friends for a few years. We've done business together. We've done social events together. You're a local contractor.
Yes, sir.
High-end additions, remodels.
And now new builds.
Yeah, now new builds. We're the bulk of our business is $500,000 to $1.5 million big renovations, additions, and stuff like that to entire properties. Now we're getting into a lot of $2 million to $5 million custom homes.
And how many of those do you have right now?
Two.
You have two.
Two of those.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
So
it's fun. It's fun stuff.
that's where you are today. Just so everybody knows, I think walking around in Newport Beach, you look at all these amazing homes and these people doing great business in either on the sales side or the building side or the design side. And not everybody starts there, right? Everyone has a story. Everybody has worked their butts off to get to a point that allows them to do business at the higher level. You know, how did you originally get started in?
Started in construction when I was 13 years old. I'll give the short version. Learned my original trade then. From 13 to 18, I worked with my uncle doing high-end stone and tile for Walker Zanger, what used to be Eurobath and Tile, and a few other tile stores. Then started my first business out of high school, stone and tile installation business. Again, did all high-end stuff. Eventually, clients just started asking, can I do the whole bathroom? Can I do the kitchen? Can I put an addition on? So tile business took a few years to pick up, but then did pretty well around 21, 22. But by the time I was 24, I needed my general contractor's license because people were asking for, larger remodels and small additions and stuff at that point. So got my GC license when I was 24. Started Stonehill when I was 26, and then I opened the office on PCH in Corona del Mar when I was 27 or 28, and now I am, 36. So it's been a wild ride, a lot of ups and downs, especially early in my career, but wouldn't trade those for the world. And by the way, just because you become more successful over the years doesn't mean that about 3 hours ago I wasn't on a job site in CDM Village and I had 20 minutes to kill before my meeting there, and I'm picking up trash with two of my guys and loading a dumpster, I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, everybody wants to look at success and glory, but anybody who is successful will tell you, there's a lot of underneath work that ends up happening, so yeah, I was tossing trash in a dumpster for 30 minutes earlier today.
There's a method to the madness, and Mark and I can attest to prepping for an open house and sweeping out a patio and sweating 5 minutes before we're about to show the property or helping clients move. That's how you get stuff done and make sure that the experience for our clients is important besides the big picture.
Well, you got to use your elbow grease at all times, even when you maybe don't want to. That property that we did in Sea Island, you and I were there scrubbing wood floors on our hands and knees on a Saturday night, right, at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So,
and just so everybody knows, we collectively, Mark, myself, Josh purchased and remodeled a property in the gated community of Sea Island in Newport Beach a couple years ago. It was the first 100% financed and worked on project by ourselves without other clients, and it was a labor of love. And as you mentioned, we probably spent a good couple grand in Uber Eats charges and practically lived at the property.
But, don't get me wrong. It's not like we didn't have fun scrubbing wood floors on our hands and knees. I think we had a cooler there. We
had a cooler and a barbecue.
And a barbecue. Yeah, we still, but that's part of like my philosophy in Stonehill. And like, if I can't have fun with clients, designers, subcontractors, employees, like, what's the point? Yeah, we want to do great projects, and I'm a perfectionist by nature. But if you can't have fun, like, in your work environment and on projects and everything, that's one of the big things for me. Is like, well, what's the point, really? You know,
my first mentor, who I assisted in real estate, he constantly said,
"Who's that?"
Bill Cote, a legend in coastal Orange County real estate. He said, if you're not having fun and making money, then don't do it. It doesn't matter if you're in this business or anything.
Right.
And I always think about that. And there are ups and downs, and I'm sure we all, several times a year are like, forget this. Why am I doing this? But big picture stuff, it's pretty cool to see the end results of both, businesses that we're in.
Yeah.
And seeing, something that's so personal as far as somebody's shelter, somebody's home, and seeing them happy, because that's the epicenter of everyone's lives, right? Especially if you have a family, and we're really lucky to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, everybody's like, oh, is this your dream job? Is it like, if it's not your dream job, do something else? Well, I kind of fell into construction, so I didn't really have another option, but I love it, and I wake up every day, and all I do is do stuff all day long. There's never really ever a day that I feel like I work. Yeah. So I feel like that's as much of a dream job as you can ask for. So
I heard you say that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm surrounded by just incredible people as well. You two being real estate agents, designers, subcontractors, architects. I surround myself with people I want to work with. So it's great. What were you going to say, Mark?
Oh, no, I was going to say I was going to piggyback that. I also fell into this. I was bartending.
Yeah.
I didn't take the college path, so there wasn't that many opportunities for me. But when I got into real estate, I was like, okay, well, I like homes. I like this.
Yeah.
And then once I started learning more of the nuances and everything, I really appreciated it.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I hate when people say, like, oh, the day you find your thing is the last day you'll ever work. When
Right.
There's always some stuff that you don't really want to do. Mm-hmm. But the president of our company, Leonard Steinberg, said once, he's like, if you can find love for about 70% of your job, he's like, you made it.
Yeah.
If you think about that, the 30% is so small. And I think in all of our lines, there's about 30% of stuff that I don't love doing. You still got to do it. But the 70% completely outweighs.
Well, there's always going to be like a certain amount of, I don't want to do this in any job. Even sports players, like, they go out and play a game and get paid millions and millions of dollars, but they're also in the gym when nobody's looking, just cranking away and just improving on their body and their health. And it's tough stuff. So like, maybe they feel like they work once in a while, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, or maybe all the time, but there's glory to every occupation, and there's, that back end of nitty gritty as well in every occupation.
So the purpose of this podcast is to be informative, help our listeners, anybody listening to this podcast, get a look behind the scenes into real estate, all aspects of it. And, a big part about remodeling and the construction business is, most people don't have any idea what's going on, right? You watch HGTV, you see, what appears to be 3 days a week, 10 days, $50,000 spent, and a whole house is remodeled. It's
delusional. It's like totally unrealistic.
It sets real unrealistic expectations,
especially if you want a quality job. I mean,
and especially in California where we live. And what's interesting from the real estate standpoint is, 2019, we're 10 years into this housing recovery. The amount of equity in homes across the country is at an all-time high, okay? So what we're seeing, and we've talked about this a lot, is people have more equity in their homes than ever before, and they're using that equity to improve those properties versus selling them and taking that equity and buying another property.
That's very true.
And especially here in coastal Orange County, a lot of clients of ours are, instead of saying, "Oh, my home is appreciated in value, I'm going to sell it and go buy this amazing property," they're not finding that amazing property. They're happy where they're at. And so what they're going to do is, if they have the cash, great. If not, they have the equity, they take money out, and they're going to make that house amazing, perfect, which is pretty amazing for the business you're in. And we've talked about it, is people would rather improve where they're at than go out and buy and sell and go that route.
Yeah, I think if you like your location and obviously you're okay with the structure of the house and you have equity built in, well, I mean the market is kind of set up right now where it's softening a bit, and people realize they're going to stay in their home for the next whatever cycle. Hey, dog! Oh, the dog just ran into the glass. So people are staying in their homes for the next cycle, is what the majority of calls that come into our office seem like, So they're like, okay, well, let's dump $500,000 to $1 million into our home and do the dream project we always wanted to do instead of buying another property, So that is the majority of the situations as far as our remodels and renovations go. Although we do have one renovation on Lido right now that they're putting 1.3 into it and then putting it on the market. So there's always specific situations, but that's the bread and butter and the bulk of the clients who call Stonehill for big remodels, big renovations, is they want to do their dream project, and I definitely want to be a part of that.
It's always interesting from your perspective. What does that look like when a person remodels their house? And they're going, there's a balance between, I see two buckets. I want my dream house, so I want what I want, and then there's the other bucket of, is this improvement adding value, dollar for dollar, 50 cents on the dollar? Is it improving? Am I going to get a return on this? And how much are people thinking about that? Because I don't get a sense in many cases, it's a low percentage that people are like either reaching out to us as their agent to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is that a good idea?
Or do you? I was gonna say I'm going to load that question with some more ammunition there.
Okay,
at you. Anyone who knows you, anyone who knows Stonehill, love your transparency, and one of the first things you always say is, "I'm expensive." And you definitely do come in higher than a lot of other contractors out there.
That's correct and true.
So to his question to add on, why is that? Why are your bids a little bit higher? What do you offer? And how does that come back to benefit, I guess, the owner?
So let's unpack this a little bit. So as far as your question goes, at Stonehill, we insist on doing things correct all the way across the board, from the building of things, everything inside the walls, every finish, every corner. I mean, just everything all the way around. I'm a perfectionist by nature, as I said. Like, everything just has to be done right and look perfect, right? So there's so many trades, so many things going on in a home, especially when it's a higher end home and there's a designer involved or anything like that, where there could be just a wide scope of what's acceptable or what's not. Okay, so that's the construction side of it. Then there's like the legal side of it, right? Where, Stonehill has a full workers' comp policy, full liability policy, bond, license, and then we actually have an additional aggregate policy, the California law is, I think it's $1.5 million now liability. We have a cap on top of that of $3.5 million, so we have a total of $5 million liability. So, I mean, there's just lots of moving parts and things involved in me doing my business, and unfortunately or fortunately, however you look at it, that translates all the way through to our pricing, right? So, if a homeowner takes a set of plans and bids it out to Joe Schmo Construction, and he comes in at $600,000, and I come in at $680,000. Most of the time, I can go to them and I can either pull up the guy's license or that I'm bidding against or whatever, and I can be like, okay, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, or this or that, you know? And then it comes down to who was he referred by, who was I referred by. It's a very difficult situation to be in. I'm not going to lie about that. For a homeowner, it can be very confusing, but that's why I'm very transparent. Is like, hey, we're more expensive than, you know, I always tell people, like, we're definitely not middle of the road, and we're not like the super high end, but we're somewhere in between there, and maybe in the 80 percentile or so, 80 to 90 percentile, you know. That's what Stonehill is, and we think we're worth that, you know, from our customer service to our product and everything across the board. We think we're definitely worth that. What was your original question? I'm sorry.
I forgot.
No, it was about
sorry.
if people, homeowners are making these improvements, and you know, how does that help with their equity? Is it
Right.
adding the equity.
Right.
And the reason, I kind of want, because I want everyone to hear that you are very expensive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how do you answer that to clients? Because I'm sure they're asking you the same thing.
Well, I would say most of Stonehill clients, yes, that's in the back of their mind as far as resale value, but they're coming to us to do their dream project. So it's not, I would say maybe only 10% of our clients that we sign contract with are actually like super worried about their resale value. 90% of our clients are like, hey, we know Stonehill is very good. You were referred by 2 of our friends. We have this designer. We want to do this dream project, and off we go and running. And it's not, the resale value is not always a huge thing for me. Now, just to reference that Lido project now, it wasn't going to be put up for sale. They were going to move back into it. But now, mid-project, they've decided we're just going to go ahead and sell it. So now they are looking at every single penny spent on the project from this point forward, right? So, like, I've had to try, like, kind of transition all of my employees on the project and my subcontractors and say, hey, you know, these people are going to resell this. Yes, everything will still be done correct. Yes, everything will still look amazing, but we just have to kind of rein ourselves in a little bit, you know? I mean, for them, you know, like the additional things, like we can't go all out on certain things, which they probably would have been okay with before, you know? So there's like a lot of, again, in construction, there's so many different scenarios, but when it comes to your specific question, with our business, it's not a lot of like resale value thing, you know? Of course, we do have projects that is, but it's a very small amount. But I think that's also why my job is fun, because I'm doing people's dream projects, right? Like, I love that. I love being a part of, you know, them wanting their dream home to be built, or they move out for 6 months of a year and I make their dream happen to their existing home where they've made, you know, plenty of memories with their family. So.
And I think it's important. Today I walked a property with a local builder, and it's a brand new construction.
Where was that?
I maybe not disclose that information.
What was the exact address, Dylan? Please tell me.
So the property is closing, and it's brand new construction.
Yeah.
And it's a brand new property. Everything's been replaced. Everything's ground up new.
Yeah.
Well, the builder who didn't build it is coming in for that buyer, and they're going to spend another $1 million essentially improving and fixing a majority of the house. Yeah. And what's amazing is people can buy brand new construction, and there can be such a range in the quality of finishes. And to your point, with your clients who are remodeling, is, you know, reining in their spending, is there's no secrets. Okay, if somebody's a developer or going to flip a property, they're very conscious about what they're spending and what their bottom line is. So, what's so surprising is the amount of buyers, affluent buyers in our market, who may not be completely up to speed on the quality of construction. They see a new property, and agents do this too. They're guilty of this. Is they're comparing it to another new construction in the neighborhood, and they're looking at location, lot size, house size. But the big variable that's not included is the quality of construction, the finishes of you know, how it's built, and that can have that might have the largest range. Is I think it's important for people to know, if you're going to buy a property that's been remodeled or rebuilt, is to have your contractor, have somebody you trust walk the property, have your real estate agent get really comfortable in understanding, you know, the approximate costs. You know, a lot of people throw around numbers, like agents will be like, oh, they put $500,000 in this, they put $1 million, 1.1, and very rarely is there documentation of that.
Right.
Or just because you spend the money doesn't mean that it was done the right way.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's even yes, it's important to have somebody walk the property, but even I can like walk into a house and I can tell if it's strong. I can tell it, like, just walking in it and being in it, I can tell if it feels right, feels well built. But nobody can see inside the walls. Nobody, like, so there's certain things that you're just not even going to be able to understand. But I was telling Mark yesterday at dinner that, like, or at lunch, that, like, I even go into some, like, new homes now that are new construction, and I'm like, and they're $10-15 million homes, and I'm like, how did this builder get away with this quality, which is not that good, and
because buyers are not aware.
Yeah, buyers, and the average homeowner doesn't know as far as quality, finish, and everything. They just see a beautiful home as like, just a home, just a big home, rather than like all the details, right? And for me and Stonehill, we don't do that. We don't just crank out a home as quick as possible and not look into all those little tiny details. I mean, I'm talking about little details as far as, corners of drywall cracking, cabinets not set up properly, countertop edges not mitered. I mean, these are all like finished things, but I mean, there's definitely like just such a wide array of I don't know what the word is, but acceptable craftsmanship, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to. I think that's why I'm proud of having the reputation Stonehill has, is that people know that we're good. They know my eye and what kind of contractor I am, and they know that they're going to pay a little more for it, and that's okay. If we don't get a project because somebody wants to spend enough, then that's okay with us. But we're very upfront, transparent. We're going to do a great job. Everything's going to be perfect, and then we're going to be out of there, and you're going to enjoy it. So, but yeah, it's a tough. We've talked about this conundrum, for homeowners many times, where it's hard to, Mark went through his own experience on his house, in construction, and it's like, from getting your contractor there to getting his employees there to getting his subs there, how involved is he? I mean, it's just there's this big old tangled web of construction that needs to be organized well, orchestrated well, and the end product be incredible as well. And as far as the homeowners, it's hard for them to know what they're going to get in the end, And I feel for homeowners that like are in that space, Well, you talk about,
I think what it comes down to, and our industry has the same issue.
Yeah.
Is so many people right now across any spectrum, any market, they're so concerned with price.
Yeah.
Right. So what we charge for a commission, they want the lowest commission.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
For you, they want the lowest total amount of the work.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think what ends up happening, I can speak this from my own experience, is the lack of education and then not understanding the value, right? Because a good real estate agent, you might want to pay them more than anybody else, because if they can sell your house for 5% more, 10% more, and that is possible,
it covers the rate.
Who cares if you're paying them a percent or 2% higher?
Right.
Same thing for you.
Yeah.
So I think for everyone listening is like, what is the value of that money? Because you can spend more money with you on a remodel, but if you get better value in return on the quality of that property 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when you go to sell the home.
Well, not only the quality, but also the experience, right? Like, I mean, I'm finishing up a contract tonight for a project in Newport Coast, and in August, these clients had a contractor come in, and he demoed the whole downstairs, right? He demoed exterior walls, and then started like framing and putting up drywall with no plans, no permits, no nothing, and it's a mess. This was in August. We just had our last meeting over the weekend, and they've been living in one of their guest rooms in their house on single mattresses, right? So it's like, so now we're going to sign contract. They decided, hey, let's hire some. They were actually referred by another client of ours, and this client just said, just use, shout out to Luke and Maureen Watson. They said, just use Stonehill, use Josh. He's going to be a little more, but like they're looking at that value, right? Like they've gone through a traumatic, horrible experience. They're sitting in their amazing home up in Newport Coast, and they're sleeping in a guest bedroom on the floor on single mattresses, and their whole downstairs is ripped apart, right? So it's like, Now we're going to go in there and handle the project, probably fix a bunch of things now that the previous contractor did. But I think paying us a little more, or paying a little bit of a premium, not only from the experience that they're going to get with us, from customer service, translated all the way through the end of the project in the craftsmanship. So it's kind of like a total package thing, right? So there's like value added in every part of hiring a construction company or a contractor, you know?
I'm going to use an analogy.
Yeah.
Mark loves hamburgers.
That's a pretty good analogy.
That's not a lie.
Yeah. Do you love hamburgers?
Oh, yeah.
Medium?
Cheeseburger, medium rare.
Wow.
So
Look at you.
So let's use this analogy.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald's sells cheeseburgers.
Right. Yeah. Perfect.
A market or a restaurant sells cheeseburgers.
Right.
Okay. A market's cheeseburger is about 10 times as much as a McDonald's cheeseburger.
A restaurant, yeah.
When's the last time Mark had a McDonald's cheeseburger?
About 9 years ago.
Okay. When's the last time you had a restaurant cheeseburger?
A couple times a year.
Okay. So there's choices that we need to make.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing is you can go to McDonald's anytime you want and get a remodel. And there's plenty of people that will do that remodel for you. But if you're going there and you eat that consistently, you're probably going to have some challenges.
That's very true. You know,
we did a remodel, and we were...
your house.
We had about 6 different people refer this guy. Yeah. So again, anyone listening out there, be careful who, even if your friends refer, but the consistency of the referral was, he does great, he does good work, but he's really affordable.
Yeah, well,
very affordable. So here we are. My wife was pregnant with her second. We're a couple months in.
Tough situation.
We have all the dates outlined and planned. Well, he didn't start till about 2.5, 3 months later. He just completely ghosted us for over a month of that. And then finally came around and said he was going to start next week. That was still about a month and a half out. And then, the timeline of the project was supposed to be, say 2 months. It was about 3.5 months.
And it wasn't due to your changes or anything
and we had zero communication. Okay. We never knew what was going on. He wouldn't return our calls. He wouldn't get back to us. We would just see things done, and it was like... And then, so the worst part about it is the night before we have our baby, there's still holes in our walls. You had to redo the wood floors, so there's all the fresh lockers, so we couldn't sleep in there. So my wife is out in the living room sleeping on a couch. And she is 10 days late with her second baby.
And she's about as pissed as I was about my salad.
Oh, yeah. Probably a little more.
Fair enough.
So we woke up from 4 a.m. on a couch and went straight to the hospital, and they finished maybe 3.5 weeks later.
And and it was but maybe that's worth something to somebody if they could spend 40%, like and the guy, by the way, I'm pretty sure I know what you spent, but like he had no insurance, no workers. You just can't do it. You literally cannot do it. So but maybe that is worth it to maybe some people or whatever, you know. But
it was a terrible experience, and to top it off, he didn't even finish.
Oh, really?
So we ended up having to bring a handyman and someone else out to come finish his work. But he just completely left the project because he got a bigger, more expensive deal.
See, that goes to the experience. That goes to the experience. Luckily, we are very lucky where, the majority of our clients are fairly successful and have, monetary funds to pretty much do whatever they want, and it's great, and they understand they're getting what they pay for. I always just tell people, okay, well, I drove a 75 Chevy Nova as my first car. Do you want a 75 Chevy Nova? It was a piece of junk. Do you want a 75 Chevy Nova construction project? Or do you want a 2020 now, Mercedes construction experience, And if you're... I think we've touched on this before, but, most people's biggest asset is their home. And it always blows my mind the way people... Not necessarily Stonehill clients, but a lot of the majority of people want to spend as little as possible on their biggest investment, and it's always blown my mind, So I've never come up with really an answer. I think it's just people think that construction is actually like they can get it done for really cheap because of maybe the guys that are involved in construction or whatever. But it's always blowing my mind because then you have a terrible experience. You have leaks, you have this, that, and the other, and then you're screwed.
It's something people aren't aware. Once they close on a property, the house is almost alive and it needs care and maintenance right away.
Right.
And we see it all the time is people don't care for the property. And when there might be, let's just say there's a repair that costs $1,500 and people avoid doing that $1,500 repair for several years, and then it becomes a $15,000 repair, and then they're shocked or they're going to sell the property, and it costs them a lot more money than if they bit the bullet. Not saying that's a lot of money, and not everybody just has the funds to take care of it, but understanding if you're buying an asset of a certain value that there's going to be reoccurring repairs and maintenance that is standard to really take care of that to help it maintain its value.
Yeah, I mean, home ownership is home ownership no matter how you slice it, right? Like, you could have a $400,000 house in Orange, or you can have a $20 million house in Newport Beach. I mean, run the gambit of the value. It doesn't matter. You still own a home. Still has to be upkept. Still needs touch-up paint here and there. Like, I mean, it still needs to be loved, you know? So
what do you suggest? Let's just say somebody's going to go through a remodel. Okay, they're thinking about a remodel. Most likely, most people are going to go through a remodel to some degree at some point in their life. You know, what are a couple simple things, you know, that people can ask or do or be aware of when interviewing contractors, when looking at paperwork, when you're in the middle of a project, to protect themselves against somebody doing something like at Mark's situation where he's gone for a period of time? I mean,
I would say you just start at, you know, asking good friends and having them, because like when a lot of times when people ask their friends, they don't want to admit that they have had a horrible experience. Like, ask your friends that are willing to tell you the truth about, you know, who they hired, what kind of job they did, how responsible they were, how well the project turned out. Was it on time? Was it on budget? Why was it over budget? You know, so I would start with asking close friends or close neighbors that live in the area, you know, no matter what area you're at, you know. So I would start there, get direct referrals to any contractor or construction company. And then from there, you can pretty much eliminate a majority of the contractors just based on trust, right? Because like the big, you know, thing is that contractors aren't trustworthy, right? So like that's what you want to find out first, if they're going to tell you the truth. So you ask whoever you call, oh, do you have your license? Do you have a bond? Do you have liability insurance? Do you have workers' comp? Do you have any other certifications? Whatever it is. And they'll tell you, yeah. And then you can just go on the cslb.ca.gov website, type in their license number or business name or whatever, and it'll show you what they have. So like, I would say more than 50% of contractors or construction companies that do. Now, it's a little bit different when you get into like over $1 million projects, because it's almost expected that you have all this stuff. But if you're spending under $1 million, you can eliminate most contractors right out of the gates, because they're going to be lying to you about something, you know, because those things cost so much money to have.
So that's a huge step, right? And at least having people be aware, right? If you want to proceed with somebody who's not doesn't have that coverage, at least being aware that you are exposing yourself to potential, although it might be a small percentage, somebody getting injured at your house and you having a mess on your hands.
Right. So direct referral, you know, from honest friends, family, neighbors, whatever. And then, you know, is your contractor trustworthy out of gates? Is he telling you the truth about what he has? And then you get into, okay, proposal. Okay, if he's going to come out, is he on time? Is he punctual? Like, does he seem like a legitimate person, right? And he or she, like, do they seem like legitimate people? And then they say, okay, I'll get you a proposal. Well, how long is it going to be? At Stonehill, we have a 3 to 5 day business turnaround, right, on proposals. And then you receive the proposal. Well, how detailed is it? Ours are typically 8 to 10 pages long. They go through all the trades. They say exactly what you're getting. They're based on the plans that either the architect or the designer had given, or a very detailed meeting with the owner. And you go through that, and then you get to like we do proposals like construction costs and then allowances as a separate item, and like the allowances that they're giving, like, legitimate, like if you'd have,
because you're going to make changes, you're going to have higher end finishes or countertops.
But if you've instructed them that if you've instructed your contractor or construction company that you're going to have, Wolf Range, Sub-Zero fridge, like Viking, like all these high end appliances, well, he shouldn't be giving you an unrealistic allowance of $10,000, because that's going to be $30,000 to $40,000 for all those like high end appliances, right? So like, again, like with Stonehill, even if I am not doing a project or not doing a proposal for somebody, if a friend of a friend has somebody that needs me to look at a proposal, I'll just look at it and tell you like the red flags, but you need to really comb through it. If you want to get 2 or 3 proposals, compare them and contrast them. They're probably not going to be very detailed, or they're just going to be budget line items or something. So we go into a little more detail as far as our proposals and stuff go, but that would be the third step. And then when you decide to, there's a lot of things that go into it, but when you decide to hire a contractor, he'll give you a contract, put that proposal in contract form, or give you a simple contract. And well, there's laws as far as contracts and payments, right? So like, if he asks for a deposit of $50,000, well, that's illegal, because it's 10% or $1,000, whichever is less.
That's good to know.
So basically, all of our contracts, whether they're $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 to $5 million, the deposit's always $1,000, because 10% is much more than $1,000 on our contracts. So there you have another bullet point that you can go off of. So
these are all signs, right?
Yes,
and there's meeting with the contractor. There's how you feel about it, in addition to checking the box.
That actually is probably the biggest thing. Like, if you feel like it's the right decision, then it probably is. Now, of course, there's sweet talkers out there, and there's con artists, whatever, But if you've done your due diligence, got good referrals, and you just feel like it's and by the way, you need to get along with your contractor. So it's like, if you feel like you could have a good relationship with him or her, then go for it. As long as you agree on price and you're comfortable with the structure of the contract and everything that's going on with the project and the details and everything, then you go for it at that point. We get probably 75% of the proposals and contracts we put out. The 25% that we don't get, I always go back and ask, hey, why didn't we get it? And then a couple months down the road, I always follow up and see how the project's going, And I would say more than 50% of the time, they're like, we should have just went with you or something. Not tooting my own horn, but it's like they're not having a positive. They're not having a positive experience. Yeah. So yeah, it's hard though. It's really hard. I wish there was just some like cookie cutter template to hiring a construction company, but there really isn't. But it just, for like your guys' clients and for anybody listening to this, like, if you have a proposal, even if you're not hiring Stonehill, which I would love to do everybody's projects, contact our office, call our office, or email. You can get us on Instagram, email, every which way, and send. If you're really like thinking about spending a big chunk of money, send it over. I'll look at it, or somebody in my office will look at it, and we'll be honest with you, even if we're not doing the project.
That's huge, and
we're here for our clients and everybody, really.
I think what I'm hearing is just like with a home purchase or home sell, slow down.
Right.
Take your time.
Right.
Have multiple people look at it.
Yeah.
If you're working with you, if you're working with us, have a few different people look at it.
Put eyes on it.
Get feedback, and then when you make a decision, be more confident in that decision versus what I feel so many times with people buying or selling, it's a rush. It's a push.
Yeah.
And I think they push to get in the house, rightfully so, if they have kids, and other stuff, and they're like, we got to get this remodel done. And the timeline's more important than making the right decision.
Yeah, a lot of clients, if they haven't done a construction project, if they haven't done a large construction project before, they see drywall go up and they think the project's almost done. That's not normally the case. So
it's one of the prettier parts.
It is a prettier part, and you get excited when you see drywall go up, and you think they could just slap the cabinets in and countertops and you're done. But there's really a lot of work that goes into it after that. So yeah, slow down. I mean, as far as taking your time on on proposals and contracts, get as many as you want. never go with the lowest guy, especially if it's like a considerable percentage less. Like, that's a red flag, you know. But, you know, any reputable construction company should be the proposals should be within 5 to 10% of each other. You know, if somebody's half the cost, you're going to get change ordered out of your mind. You know, so
shifting gears.
Yeah.
You know, when we did our project together, we hired a designer, and I think it's something we're both in the business, and we all feel very comfortable with. Hey, I like this style. I think this would work.
Yeah.
But what we found was having a designer to kind of push the limits or make sure that everything together looked good was incredibly valuable and really took a lot of the pressure off. You know, like I don't care what you're spending for a remodel, whether it's $50,000, $500,000, or a couple million. Is if you're spending that amount of money, some percentage of that should be dedicated to having a designer come in and say, hey, what do you like? Let me conceptually tie it all together and give you some options.
Right. Yes. First, shout out to Valeria Pizzetti from Pizzetti Design. She did an amazing job on our project at Ocean Vista. So thank you very much to her. Yes, there are many decisions to be made in any construction project. I mean, there's so many decisions, so many details, and your money is very well spent with a good architect and a good designer, you know? Yes, you need a good contractor, and yes, you need a great contractor to do a huge project or build your home, you know? But yes, there is a certain amount of monetary value you get out of hiring a designer. It just makes life so much easier. Everything works through the house. Like, everything just, I mean, you can't really put maybe even a monetary value on it, you know?
And what I see with the way you work with Valeria and some of your architects is you guys are like a team, right? And if it's not all three of you on every project, you guys have worked on a bunch of projects together, or two of you have worked together. And I think that's something important for people to be aware of when they're looking at a contractor is, do they have people that they work with?
Right.
Have they worked together on multiple projects? Can I see those projects or learn about those? Are those in my neighborhoods?
Right.
And I think just that would give people a comfort level that, hey, these guys work together. And they're a team, not just a one-off of, this person is capable of organizing and making sure these subcontractors are doing their work.
Right, yeah. I mean, we do projects with a lot of incredible designers. You know, I can rattle off all the names, but yeah, a lot of incredible designers on all of our projects. And it seems like every time I turn around, like, I'm talking about the dream team, right? Like, and on every project, even though it's different designers, like, you have to have a dream team ready to go to accomplish your project, you know, from designer, architect, builder, and, you know, anybody and everybody in between, engineers, energy consultants, subcontractors. Like, there has to be this well-oiled machine of just everybody on the dream team, you know. I use that term all the time, even though there's different designers and different architects on projects. Like, I know when there's a dream team or not, and I know when parts of the team need to be changed. You know, we have two projects right now. One, the owners that we're building their house for in CDM didn't want to hire a designer, and I strongly disagreed with that. And we started framing, and now a designer is hired, you know. And then on another project, we don't normally allow homeowners, people to work on our projects because I expect a certain level of competency, attention to detail, and everything. But I did allow it on another project, and subsequently, those people have needed to be let go because they're just not living up to, you know, Stonehill standards and my standards. So it becomes apparent pretty quick if people are not going to be part of the dream team. But yes, and it becomes more apparent, actually. The house we're building in CDM for the client said, you saved our project by pressuring us to get a designer because we'd never even imagined there was this many details, you know. And then the clients down on Lido, they're like, hey, we understand, like, because I explained to them this A, B, C, D, E, and F of why this is not going to work. And they're like, we totally get it. Let's get your dream team people in here, you know? So,
nice.
So yeah, it has to be people that are used to working together and just a well-oiled machine. And relationships are certainly important in any business, and that's what they are, So, yeah, I just love working with the people that we work with, and hopefully there'll be a lot more dream teams in the near future here.
Oh yeah. So we always like to ask our guests if they have one question for us. Anything about real estate that people might be interested in, that you might have questions in your business? Yeah.
I mean, I think I've spoken to you guys about it in the past, but just how do you assess and handle a client or a homeowner saying, I think my house is worth X amount of dollars? Now, because, let's face it, homeowners, they've lived in a house for a long time. They have this emotional connection to their home, right? They think it's, in probably the majority, I would say, they think it's worth more than it is.
Nobody thinks their kid's ugly.
Okay, well, there you go, yeah. So how do you guys handle that approach when people say, I want to list my house for $3 million, and you guys in your head go, well, we know it's only worth $2 million. So, how do you guys even go about breaking that news to people? Do you guys lose listings because of that? Do people respect when you tell them the truth? Or do you just say, okay, well, if that's what you think and you're not going to budge, do you try to talk people into listing for a different price, or do you let people kind of do whatever they want?
We don't tell anybody what to do.
Yeah.
We view our relationship with a seller and buyers as well as a partnership. Okay, where we're working together to figure out a solution to their goals, to achieve their goals. Yeah. So if somebody thinks their house is worth $3 million and we think, or the comps support it being closer to 2, then ultimately there's a decision that needs to be made whether or not we're going to work together.
But do you propose the comps to, do you propose it, say, hey,
we always review the comps.
Okay.
Always review the
comps.
With the client,
yeah.
Yes. And look, you'll see in the market, some agents will list a property at any number, right?
Yeah.
It's a sign in the ground. A lot of agents will grind the seller down and say, oh, I'll list it for 30 days and then let's lower the price.
Okay.
We typically look at that partnership and the confidence we have in each other to be transparent and whether or not we're going to work well together.
Right.
So we will list a property to some degree above where the market we think it's going to sell for. Not drastically. We'd rather put our efforts into other clients and properties that are more realistic about selling. But ultimately, it's about working together and achieving a goal. And I think that's how we base our decisions. And look, sometimes the client's right. Sometimes the house does sell for a number that's not supported. So I think it's being...
And it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. That's what you always told me. Is okay, maybe it is worth $3 million if that one buyer walks through that door that wants that house and wants to pay $3 million. I mean, but that's not...
Who are we to say? Absolutely, this property is... Look, we get, I think, too used to facts and comps and support to say, well, that sold for this, so your house is absolutely going to sell for that. It's not true. The market is ever changing, so that number could be lower, it could be higher. So I think we can get tunnel vision in that's the number for your house or this is the range. We never think it's a particular number. We think there's a range for every property.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I definitely took from that Ocean Vista property that we did is you said, hey, let's list it competitively, let's not try to list it for, 5% over what we even, because then you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Then you got to reduce the price. Then you're reducing again. And let's face it, there's a house at the end of that street now that was $500,000 or $600,000 more than our property. And it is still on the market and below what we actually ended up selling for.
Buyers are more educated in this market than ever before. Okay, the prices are better than they've ever been, but buyers know what's going on. Typically in this market right now, our market time's around 100 days. If you're sitting on the market for 100 days or more, the market's communicating on value. Okay, there's no secrets.
The other thing would be why do people list off market? What is the benefit or the pro or the con in listing off market?
So there's multiple reasons. We just sold a couple of properties off market. One reason was they were going through a divorce. So it's a very tumultuous time. It's a transition time. So having a bunch of people in the house or coordinating that was not on the table.
It gets emotional,
Another one was, they had every intention of listing at a certain date, but exposing the property off-market created demand. So when buyers looked at it, that's the first thing you have to do, is you see the property and you go, oh, this thing's going to hit the market. I want it. Okay, so the perception of value or importance of paying at or above where they may otherwise pay.
Rather than doing a bidding war or whatever it is.
And ultimately, it's each person's decision. There's pros and cons to each scenario. But those are a couple reasons why somebody would offer it off market. But the biggest thing, I think, in our experience would be to create that demand that not everybody's seen this. And if this does hit the market, it's going to go at a higher value. And more importantly, I think for buyers, especially in coastal Orange County, is I might lose out on that property. So if they see something they want, the money's almost secondary, right? They want that home. And that's something that when it does work, it's amazing.
Yeah. And how do you guys get, how do you guys get most of your listings? Is it?
It's pretty evenly balanced between our network, our sphere of influence, and referrals, repeat business, door knocking. So we're in the communities we work regularly.
Oh, you put boots on the ground and everything?
Boots on the ground.
That's great. That's
great. We're in the streets, so we're really aware of what's going on, and we're in the community, which not very many agents do. So it's a pretty good balance. Now that we've been working together for about 10 years.
That's great.
All right. Before we get you out of here, Josh. Going to do a few rapid fire questions.
Oh boy, here we go.
So this is not pertaining to real estate. But we just want to pick your brain.
Well, this is a curveball that I wasn't ready for.
You ready?
But I'm always ready for everything.
Favorite ice cream?
Ooh. God, I'd probably say throwing it back to my younger days when I was 5'5" and 250 pounds. Chocolate malted crunch from Thrifty ice cream.
That's a throwback.
Yes, sir.
Favorite part of living in Corona Del Mar?
I'm not going to give my exact address, but I live about a block and a half from the Stonehill office. The Stonehill office is right at Goldenrod and PCH. I live about a block and a half behind it, and yes, walking to work, walking everywhere, living in CDM I've been all over the world, and I always love coming home, yes.
But what's your favorite? Just being a block away from it?
Yeah, just having everything right within my fingertips, because when I grew up in Orange, and I drove all the way to Newport for every construction project. It was miserable on the 55. So just being in the vicinity of work, home, everything, that's what I love.
Favorite sports team?
Well, clearly the number one team in the NBA right now, the Los Angeles Lakers. Not to mention, what the worst team in the Western Conference is? Your Golden State Warriors. So I just want to...
Joshua Steven Zeyak, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Guest number one.
You guys, Dylan Mason, Mark Taylor, Mason Taylor Associates, keep crushing it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Let's do it again.
Check out our Instagram if you want more information on Josh.
Yeah, StonehillCDM.com. At the Stonehill Company on Instagram. Check us out. Follow us. Let's go. Hire us.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you got it.